we have, all right, this looks reasonable. 1-to-1 IPA, all right. Step one, you want to make sure the solvents, you've primed the system. Do you guys know how to do that?
No. We essentially just checked to see if there was there was actually like pressure moving through the system and if it was dripping through this right here.
Yeah. All right. Okay. You need to be quiet. Thank you. There used to be a little syringe, a little plunger. I don't see the plunger, but anyway, you set these guys up, then you open these valves.
Okay.
This is line A, this is line B.
And that's just the solvent lines?
Yes. And these are the two pumps called reciprocating pumps. That's like every, modern HPLC has these. And you want to pull solvent through. If you have air in here, it will not work. So that's what this guy is.
Is it just meant to be a vacuum in there?
It's meant to, the solvents have to be degassed. And by air, I mean any dissolved liquid will come out under the pressure of the pump. That's why you have to degas it. And if you get gas trapped in here, the pump won't deliver. The system doesn't work right.
Okay.
So
will the system just stop itself before failure, I guess?
Yeah.
Is that what it's doing there?
Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. It depends on what. Like the systems, if it overpressures, it will stop. But if it's kind of malfunctioning because it's not delivering the right pressure, it won't. It'll just keep going. The system is done. It's not going to know anything. So I'm trying to make sure we're primed here. I'm not convinced that we are.
Yeah, like what Dr. Uden was saying from last week. So we went in going for method, and the error that we continuously kept having was I reset the plates in there to actually face the right way, but then the injector essentially just opens or comes out of, I guess, whatever the I imagine it's just in like a liquid protectant or something down in there, and pulls out, slightly moves, goes back in, fails injection.
Okay, I think I know what's going on. Let's assume it is, although again, not totally convinced.
And you just read, oh, that was the exact reading.
Yeah. All right, step one. You hit the little button, get it?
Mm-hmm.
Delta faucet, change the flow. We'll set it up to something reasonable. All right, that's good. It started. So you want to check the pressure here. This system, the max pressure of the system is about 3,500 psi.
Okay, that's higher than I thought.
You don't want to run it there. You probably want to run. You want to limit it to about 3,000 because when it injects, there's like a pressure spike both up and down.
Okay.
And if that spike for one reading goes above the
30.
level, it'll stop.
So you want to make sure that spike just stays below 3,500 realistically. So
you should never set up a system where your pressure, like when you're ready to run, is like more than 2,500.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see these little white guys here. That tells you the pump is working. Those little pistons are going in and out.
Oh, wow. I was wondering where it was getting ejected for a second. I thought that was foam.
And it's closed, so that's good. Comes through here, comes in here, the oil sampler comes out. Comes out there. Alright. Alright, we're building pressure, that's good. You can check right here if you just take this guy off.
And just see if there's
exactly.
solvent coming out of it.
See, I'm a little. So that's good. And put that guy back.
So we do most of the reactions in. Yeah, these are printed.
And so for the flow rate, realistically, is that?
We use
variable just depending on what I'm doing, or is that more? Is that like something I can hold at a constant value?
It depends on the column you're using.
Okay.
So a column like you're using, or a column like this, the standard size for a column for this system is 25 centimeters long by 0.46 centimeters internal diameter of the tube. That flow rate, that column allows you a flow rate of 1 mil per minute is appropriate for that size column.
Okay. So okay.
Let me show you. Have this thing yell at me for it again. You can see right here, it tells you, this is kind of an important, the little tag there.
250 by 4.6 millimeters.
Yeah, that's millimeters. So obviously centimeters is 25 by 0.46 centimeters. And it doesn't say it on here. Oh, and that little 5 micron, that's the particle size. The HPLC column in reverse phase is with a few exceptions, it's typically silica particles that have been derivatized to whatever you want for the multi phase, in this case C18. And those silica particles are on average 5 micron. As you can imagine, the smaller you make it, the denser it's packed and the harder it is to push liquid through it.
Okay, yeah.
But between 3 and 5 is typical for this setting. 5 is fine, and with that column, you should be able to run at 1 mil per minute with most flow, with most solvents, and be below 2000. Only catch, I would say, is you have some IPA here. You have methanol acetylnitrile IPA. Isopropyl alcohol is pretty viscous, so that tends to crank up the pressure.
Okay.
And that's another reason why the columns are heated, just like, you know, like hot syrup flows over your pancakes to reduce the viscosity.
I think they're not putting pitch through it or something.
All right. So, system seems to be working. Plate is invalid. Do you have your...
I think both of the plates are inside of the auto sampler right now.
All right. Oh, what is your instrument method?
I guess that was, so we were trying to do fluoro.
Yeah, what are you looking at? What's your analysis here?
I guess we were running the Hypox 4 because we kind of were just trying to run an example set. But I guess in the inflammasome method or the Hypox 4.
All right, let's pick the inflammasome that's more recent. So that's your instrument method. That controls everything.
That's my settings already for it.
Yeah. So you can hit edit. And then this tells you each little icon, you know,
is one of the...
Exactly. So the UV detector, we've got, it's a dual wavelength, so you're looking at 370 and 254.
And that I can edit because I'm going to be taking that information from right there.
Yeah.
And then just carrying it over.
The auto sampler, most of this just keep it as is, use partial loop. That's the temperature control module. I honestly don't know what these zones mean. Zone 1 at 42 is fine. PCM stands for pump control module. I think that's not so much a physical thing as a piece of software that controls the pumps.
And it's just Intermediary's hardware right now.
Yeah. And the fluorescence detector. Yeah, I think you can have a couple different excitation emission setups, and here it's 510 excitation emission 540. So that looks fine. So then the thing we want to do is we want to monitor the system and make sure it's working. And these buttons down here help you do that. So once you have an instrument method you like, go ahead and hit setup. And what setup does is it takes the flow to the first line, to the initial conditions, and it applies everything else to the system. Instrument failure. And this little bar down here usually tells you what's going on. So it told us system idle, instrument failure on W2707. 2707 is this guy. So why is this failing? It doesn't look like it's failing. It looks fine.
And I know at least the plates are oriented right now. Or correctly now.
Alright. Let's try it again just to make sure. Set up. Alright, let's hit monitor. Monitor is the same thing as setup, only.
Where you can see actively what's going on.
Exactly. It just mirrors, it doesn't store it, but it will display what the detectors are telling you. And if it were working correctly, there would be a little timer that would start down here. And you'd see stuff there, and it's not. So the system isn't quite working right. So, as is usually the case with, and now our pressure is down to 47. So that's not good. So let's stop that. Let's go ahead and close this. Log out.
You screwed in forward. Yeah. There's the roost.
Alright, oh shoot, do you guys have the system? Do you have the password, the username?
Oh yes, it's Waters.
Okay. I totally forgot what that is. Alright. Now you go to run samples. This is just how Empower stores data. It stores it in what are called projects. And so we'll pick that guy. Takes a while to think about it. Oh, okay. All right. Let's pick that depends on method edit. Let's try something new just for fun. Let's save this as today's date. Okay, got it. Show. Go through. Okay, let's just call this. All right, so that's it. Should be everything the same. 0.6.
Okay. We will not need what we measure is mostly.
All right, let's go to setup.
10 milligrams, 5 milligrams. This have been counted. That's what we do. We never put anything device to the active. Yes. And what we use this.
Okay. The excitation and emission values both went to 510 and 540.
All right, that's good. But it still doesn't like the auto sampler. It still thinks something is wrong there. So it's not doing the thing. Let's see what we can do. So if you right click on any of these, you get some level of control over that component.
Okay.
So if you right click here, we can reset. So reset it. Initializing motors. Let's try this. Did it move the tray forward?
Yes.
Alright. Let's try a wash prime needle.
that appears to be something.
So we're clearly communicating with that particular component.
Yeah.
It's doing what we're telling it to.
It's output of the commands. It's something tells me I shouldn't have dropped those computer engineering classes.
This is more just like practical knowledge of water and power.
Mm-hmm. Some physics. Everyone's favorite subject.
Alright, let's wrap it up with buddy.
It was a green pants kind of day.
Okay, that's much better. Now
How's
we're
it
not
going?
getting there. Hey, how are you? How's med school?
It's keeping me busy. Yeah, but it's going well. Where's Marcel, by the way?
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm using all your notes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good. I'm hoping that they're helpful.
Oh, they're really helpful.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I'm literally copying your ICC stuff right now, trying to figure it out.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Well, I was
Do you go to
talking about,
Vandy?
Huh?
Do you go to Vandy Med School?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm trying to do what you're doing in
Cool.
the same timeline, I guess.
Well, good luck. Let me know if you got any advice or help.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Working on HPLC stuff?
Yeah, as usual, trying to get the system communicating properly.
Oh, fun.
Yes.
All right. Good to see you guys.
Hi, good to see you, man.
Good luck in
Nice to
school.
meet you.
Alright, so now we'll hit monitor. I'm a little worried because we don't have any pressure and we should. So it's setting up. Now it claims it's monitoring. We have the timer, which is started over here. We're getting values up here, so that's all good. Everything is communicating except
The
our
pressure is 0.
So that's a problem. So let's see if these guys are doing anything. Alright, this is moving.
It's just
And this is, if you get gas bubbles trapped
those
in here,
won't move whatsoever.
Yeah, because gas, when the pistons go like this, gas will compress, and it just
Stops it there,
Yeah,
almost like
doesn't-
like a gaseous sponge.
Yeah, and nothing's coming out here really.
So how do you flush the system for? I mean,
What you need is you need a syringe or something that you can draw through here. Which there used to be one up here. I don't know where it went. It is a critical component.
of this machine.
Yes, one of those, like, it costs 48 cents, yet it's difficult to get the system
And
to
this-
work without it.
Is this not it at all?
And that's not it, that's a different thing. Yeah.
That's an interesting plunger.
Keep the needle away from yourself. So this is waste. This might not be.
I love the transparency of gases. So easy to tell. So with the column and the silica bead system, does it work similarly to like a chelating bead, where it would like traps molecules?
It's more adhesion, and just think of like the old saying, like dissolves like.
Oh, okay.
So C18 is just an 18 carbon chain. Imagine you have two things. Imagine you have like a fatty acid going through that, and then like an aromatic with a bunch of heteroatoms in it. One's going to be a lot more, one's going to be a lot more similar to C18. That's going to be retained longer on the column.
Okay, yeah.
For reverse phase, oh, it does this. I forgot. For reverse phase, a way to think about it is almost think about like C18 has no dipole moment.
I mean, it is pretty neutral carbon atoms going around.
Yeah. The stronger a dipole moment, the less it's going to interact with the C18.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're getting some pressure here now, so that's good.
I didn't realize so it's essentially just like a sticky web of carbon chains.
Yeah, it's basically what it is.
Yeah.
All right, and we're seeing things here, so that's good. So I'm going to stop it because it does this thing that I forgot about, which is incredibly irritating.
I first heard C18, I was like, is there a carbon isotope I don't know about?
There's oxygen 18.
You know, I actually learned that like 2 days ago studying for the MCAT. Going back, I realized the Gen Chem section was further away in my mind than I remembered. Because I never had to take it in college, so I was like, oh, this is nice. Turns out AP credits just kind of make you forget stuff.
This is slightly advanced. Not advanced, it's not difficult. But a problem, you hit monitor in this system, if you have a gradient set up, it applies the gradient, which kind of defeats the purpose of putting the system in the initial condition. So what you have to do is you have to make a different method that's just an isocratic method at the initial condition. So that's what I'm writing down now.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to do that. Let's save this as so everything is working. We have a reasonable pressure. We're communicating. I think the situation with the auto sampler is fixed now. So let's if any of these would be useful to us. Blank. Prefer to not do that. No. that looks good. Try one thing. You can use these guys. They're inserts, so you don't it saves you a bunch of solvent. So I'm going to make a solution of florbuprofen, which is an NSAID. And we can look at the structure in a second. Now, let's make a few adjustments. I'm increasing the flow rate just so this doesn't take as long. And our pressure is evened out at about 1100, so we've got some room to increase the flow. So, 13. Let's go here. Open. All right, letting that go. This is kind of a pain in the ass, but it's important. The method that is used to inject is not the instrument method.
Okay.
It's kind of a thing called the method set, which is basically a shell which contains the instrument method. There's a number of ways to do it. The easiest way is to simply...
Is that essentially the system's identification for, okay, the internal method can be whatever it is, but that's how it's going to identify what it wants to do then?
Yeah, you can have you can specify any method within the method set, but for obvious reasons, like I just keep them the same name.
Yeah.
And whenever you go and change an instrument method, that's reflected in the method set. So now we have the method set as the same name as this guy, not that guy, but you know what I mean. So now it's ready to go.
Just the general project method.
Yeah. The plate well, that is correct. There's 1, 2, and then it's just, you know, whatever the coordinates are of that. So I think we want
A8.
Yep. It's colon A, comma 8. Injection volume 20. Runtime is how long. Runtime is how long it collects data. It is kind of independent of the instrument method. Like if you make a mistake and put 2 instead of 28, it'll just collect data for 2 minutes, but the gradient will continue to chug for however long. Sample name is just a text string. You can put whatever you want. Let's just put November 3rd.
So runtime essentially is what I can deduce to be, this is when I will get all the information I need.
Yeah, and this is part of this. There's not really a way to know beforehand.
Yeah.
You gotta do some method development. So our pressure is pretty good at 0.9 mils per minute. Baseline looks pretty stable. So now let's go ahead and inject and see if it works. All right, everything looks good. You hit the button on the right.
Looks like Benedict trying a lot of things.
It looks like it's working.
Is it working? Of course. Yeah, Kid is expert.
All right. Down here and here it tells you what it's doing. It's waiting for the injection. The auto sampler is doing its thing. It just injected. All right, so we've started. Alright, this is what fluoroprofen looks like. It seems to be working now. Now the question is, what do you guys want to do? What was the experiment you had in mind?
None yet. It's from when I'm. So I guess it's a down the road cycle of once purification of protein analysis. We're going to be reading essentially at that point, because this is an experimental setup. So imagine what we'll end up reading is VCAM expression and probably like inflammasome response, like inflammasome molecules that are released from VCAM response.
Alright.
And so we'll be targeting those, I'd imagine. I guess that's my job to set that up. But that's what I'm working on with rat microvascular endothelial cells.
All right, so this is a cell experiment, and then you're just gonna.
I'm gonna end up lysing after they've grown more, but right now